She gave her virginity to save a dying homeless man, unaware he was a billionaire heir. "If you don't operate, he'll die tonight." Imani Carter's voice cracked as she clung to the sleeve of the doctor's white coat. In front of her, the unconscious man was wheeled away on a stretcher, his breathing shallow, his skin ashen. He looked like a forgotten soul of the streets, but something about the proud line of his jaw made Imani's heart twist with urgency. The doctor's eyes were cold. "Without insurance or payment, we can't move forward. He's not our responsibility." Imani's knees nearly buckled. She had nothing, no money, no power, just her compassion. But how could she walk away when fate had thrown him into her arms? Hours earlier, she had been serving bowls of stew at the downtown soup kitchen. The air was thick with the smell of bread and boiled vegetables, but for Imani, it was the only place she felt her kindness mattered. "Pathetic," Tyrone sneered from the doorway, his deep brown skin glistening under the streetlight as he leaned against the frame. "Our family barely eats, and you're out here feeding strangers? You'll never be anything, Imani." She bit her lip, holding back tears, and passed another bowl to an old woman with trembling hands. Tyrone's words echoed in her head, even after her shift ended, clinging to her like chains. That's when she saw him. In the alley behind the kitchen, a man collapsed against the wall, his body shaking violently. His clothes were ragged, his lips cracked. Imani rushed forward, kneeling beside him. "Sir, can you hear me?" His eyes fluttered open, dark and glassy. "Help, please," he rasped, before his body went limp. Panic gripped her. She shouted for help, waving her arms as people walked past, quickening their steps. Not one person stopped. "Somebody, please," she cried, tears stinging her eyes. "He's dying." No one listened. With sheer determination, she dragged his heavy frame toward the street. Finally, a taxi screeched to a halt. "He needs a hospital, now!" Imani demanded, her voice breaking. Now, standing in the sterile hospital hallway, her heart raced as the doctor folded his arms. "No ID, no coverage, no family to sign consent. Without payment, there is nothing we can do." Imani clasped her hands together. "I'll work. I'll pay it back, please. Just don't let him die." The doctor's lips curved into a smirk that chilled her blood. He leaned closer, his voice low and cruel. "There is another way." Imani froze, her breath caught in her throat as his meaning became clear. The price he wanted wasn't money. It was the last piece of innocence she still owned. Her heart thundered, torn between morality and desperation. Through the doors, she could still hear the faint beeping of machines fighting to keep the stranger alive. If she refused, he would die. If she agreed, she would never be the same. Tears slid down her cheeks as she whispered into the silence. "God, what am I supposed to do?" And with that, the night sealed her fate. The words slipped from Imani Carter's trembling lips like shards of glass. The doctor's brows lifted in cruel satisfaction as he leaned back, folding his arms. "Good," he said coldly. "Prepare yourself. Once it's done, he'll have his surgery." Imani's heart crumbled. She felt dirty, trapped, yet she clung to one fragile truth. The man's life would be spared. She stumbled into the hospital restroom, gripping the sink as her reflection blurred through tears. Her dark brown eyes brimmed with torment. Her stepmother's voice echoed in her mind. "You're worthless, Imani. Nobody will ever want you." She pressed her palms to her face, whispering broken prayers. "Lord, forgive me. I don't know what else to do." Hours later, the man, still unconscious, still a stranger, was wheeled into surgery. Imani waited outside the operating room, her knees drawn to her chest, rocking silently. Every passing second felt like punishment. Finally, the red light above the door flicked off. The surgeon stepped out, peeling off his gloves. "He'll live," the doctor said with no emotion. Imani's breath caught. Relief flooded her body, but it was tainted, poisoned by the price she had paid. She clutched her chest, her tears staining her clothes. When she returned home, Veronica Carter was waiting in the doorway, arms crossed, a silk robe draped over her frame. "Where have you been?" her stepmother snapped. "Out with trash again? You disappear while my daughter does all the housework?" "I was at the hospital," Imani whispered. Veronica scoffed. "Don't lie to me. No man will ever want a girl who sneaks around at night. You're nothing but a burden." Tyrone leaned against the banister upstairs, his eyes glinting with mockery. "She's probably running around with some bum," he jeered. Janelle giggled beside him, smirking down at Imani, like a queen sneering at a servant. Imani swallowed her pain in silence. None of them would ever understand what she had done. None of them ever would. The next morning, Imani returned to the hospital. She crept into the recovery ward, her steps hesitant. There he was, alive. His chest rose steadily now, his skin less pale. He looked peaceful, almost regal in his stillness. Imani clasped the side of the bed, tears falling freely. "You don't know me," she whispered softly, "and you never will. But I saved you. I hope you live a better life than mine." The stranger stirred faintly, but his eyes did not open. Imani turned and walked away, her heart heavier than it had ever been. She left behind her innocence, her dignity, and the man whose name she didn't even know. All she carried with her was shame, and a secret that would haunt her forever. The church bells chimed faintly in the distance as Imani Carter wiped sweat from her brow. Another long shift at the soup kitchen was ending, and she stacked empty trays on the counter. This was the one place she found solace, surrounded by the faces of the hungry, forgotten, and poor. But even here, she could not escape the sharp tongue of her stepmother. Veronica's words had sliced through her before she left the house that morning. "You waste your life feeding the worthless. No man will ever want you, Imani. Not when you smell of filth and desperation." Imani swallowed the sting of her stepmother's cruelty as she tied her apron tighter. She would not give Veronica the satisfaction of breaking her spirit, even though, deep inside, her heart felt fractured beyond repair. As she carried out the last bowl of stew, her breath caught. There he was, the same man she had left for dead just weeks ago, the same man whose life she had paid the ultimate price to save. Now he stood at the corner table, upright, alive. His frame was still lean, his clothes worn, but his eyes, those dark, piercing eyes, followed her with intensity. Imani nearly dropped the bowl in her hand. Her heart raced so violently she thought the whole room could hear it. He was alive. She forced herself to move forward, setting the bowl in front of him. Their hands brushed for a fleeting second, and the jolt sent warmth rushing through her veins. "Thank you," he murmured, his voice low but steady. Imani froze. Did he know? Could he somehow sense the secret she carried? Her throat tightened, but she only nodded and hurried back to the kitchen. Tyrone Carter's voice rang out across the hall, like poison. "Well, well, well, if it isn't my dear stepsister serving her little boyfriend." Imani's head jerked up, dread filling her, as Tyrone swaggered inside, his locks tied back, a cruel grin stretching across his face. "Feeding bums again?" he mocked, loud enough for the entire room to hear. "Careful, Imani. People might start to think you actually belong with them." Laughter rippled through his friends behind him. Imani's cheeks burned, but she kept her gaze on the floor. "Leave her alone," the man said suddenly, his deep voice cutting through the noise. The room fell silent. All eyes turned to him, the supposed homeless man daring to challenge Tyrone Carter. Tyrone's grin faltered for an instant before twisting back into a sneer. "And who are you? Some stray she picked up on the street?" The man's jaw tightened, but he said nothing more. Still, the way he looked at Imani, protective, unyielding, sent a tremor through her chest. Later that evening, as Imani walked home along the dim streets, she couldn't shake the feeling she was being watched. She glanced over her shoulder more than once, clutching her worn bag to her chest. Finally, she stopped at the corner and turned. He was there, standing beneath the glow of a flickering streetlight. The stranger, the man she had saved. Imani's breath caught in her throat. "Why are you following me?" His lips curved into the faintest smile. "Because you're the only person who's ever looked at me like I was worth saving." Imani's chest tightened. She wanted to demand answers. Who he was, why fate kept placing him in her path. But fear silenced her. What if he discovered her shame? What if he learned the cost she had paid for his life? Without another word, she turned and fled into the night, her heart pounding. Back at the Carter household, Veronica sat in the parlor, her fingers tapping against the rim of her wineglass. Janelle lounged across the sofa, scrolling through her phone with a smirk. "I saw her again," Veronica said coolly. "At that soup kitchen, wasting herself on beggars." Janelle laughed, flipping her wig's long curls over her shoulder. "Let her. No one of value will ever notice her." But Tyrone's eyes narrowed, remembering the look that strange man had given Imani. Protective, defiant. "Someone already has," Tyrone muttered darkly. "And I'll find out who he is." The following week, the soup kitchen bustled with the usual crowd, but Imani's eyes kept drifting toward the corner where he always sat now, silent, watchful. Every time their gazes met, heat rushed through her veins. He looked at her like he saw something no one else did, something she wasn't even sure existed anymore. But deep down, Imani knew the truth. He was alive because of her, and yet he could never know the price she had paid. The first time Imani Carter saw the mask slip, it was only for a moment, but it left her shaken. She had gone back to the soup kitchen early, preparing trays of bread, when she heard a voice, sharp and commanding, slicing through the hallway. "No, I said pull the stocks now. Do you have any idea who you're speaking to?" Imani froze. The voice was deep, steady, filled with authority. Nothing like the weary man she thought she knew. She peeked around the corner. It was him, the same man she had saved, dressed in a donated hoodie and jeans, phone pressed to his ear. His brows furrowed, his tone clipped. "Transfer the account. I'll deal with the fallout myself. Harrington Holdings will not collapse because of incompetence." "Harrington?" Her heart pounded. She knew that name. Harrington Holdings was one of the most powerful corporations in the city. But how could a man she had found dying in an alley speak like its heir? Before she could take another step, he ended the call and turned. Their eyes met. For a moment, silence filled the room. His expression softened instantly, the hard edge melting away into the quiet humility of the man she thought she knew. "Imani," he said simply, as though he'd caught her watching. "I didn't know you were here this early." Her lips parted, but no words came. She forced a shaky smile. "I just came to set up." But doubt had already taken root. Who exactly was this man? That evening, as Imani carried a tray of bowls to the tables, Tyrone swaggered in with his usual entourage. His eyes immediately found the stranger, narrowing with suspicion. "You again?" Tyrone barked, loud enough for all to hear. "Didn't I tell you to keep away from my sister?" Imani flinched, cheeks burning. "Tyrone, please." But before she could finish, the man rose to his feet, tall and broad-shouldered, his presence filling the room. "Respect her," he said evenly, his voice low but laced with steel. "Or answer to me." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Tyrone stiffened, taken aback by the quiet threat in the man's tone. He glanced around, unwilling to lose face in front of his friends. "You think you're somebody?" Tyrone spat, stepping closer. "You're nothing but a street rat, a parasite." The man didn't flinch. He only stared at Tyrone with an intensity that made even his friends shift uneasily. Imani stepped between them, trembling. "Stop. Please, Tyrone. Leave him alone." Tyrone's lip curled, but he finally turned away, muttering curses under his breath. Imani's hands shook as she returned to the kitchen. She should have been relieved, but instead her heart raced, the way the man had stood, the way he had looked at her brother. There was nothing homeless about him. He carried himself like someone who had never bowed to anyone. Later that night, Janelle Carter spotted the man leaning against the corner outside the kitchen. She smoothed her wig, adjusted her short dress, and strutted toward him with a confident smile. "Well, aren't you full of surprises?" she purred, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "Most of these men look broken, but you look strong, handsome, different." He gave her a polite smile, but nothing more. "Good evening." Janelle tilted her head, smirking. "If you're going to keep hanging around my stepsister, you should know. She's no prize. Plain, boring, invisible. A man like you deserves someone better." His jaw tightened, his gaze cold. "And what would that be? Someone selfish? Someone cruel?" Janelle's smile faltered, but she forced a laugh. "I'm just saying, don't waste your time." She flounced away, but his eyes lingered on Imani through the window. Not once did his expression waver. Days passed, and strange things began to happen. When Imani's overdue school fees threatened to cancel her nursing classes, the bursar called her in with surprising news. "Your balance has been cleared," the woman said. "Paid in full. Anonymous donor." Imani's brows knitted together. She stumbled out of the office in shock, clutching the receipt. She had told no one about her financial struggles. How could this be? That evening, at the soup kitchen, she caught the stranger watching her more closely than usual. His gaze lingered not with lust, but with something gentler, something protective. And yet, when their eyes met, he looked away as if hiding a truth too dangerous to reveal. Imani tried to dismiss her suspicions, but her heart knew better. He was no ordinary man. His voice, his posture, the slip of that name, Harrington, it all gnawed at her. She found herself dreaming of him at night, not just as the man she saved, but as someone who could destroy her with a single revelation. Because if he wasn't who he seemed, then what else was he hiding? The storm began quietly. It wasn't thunder that announced it, but the way Tyrone Carter's eyes narrowed whenever Malik appeared near Imani. At first, it was only suspicion, but soon, that suspicion grew into something darker. Obsession. Imani Carter hurried down the cracked sidewalk, the evening breeze tugging at her braids. She had just finished her volunteer shift at the soup kitchen and clutched her books to her chest. Every day felt heavier, her world tighter, yet somehow Malik's quiet presence in that room had become her only light. But tonight, she wasn't alone. From across the street, Tyrone followed, his gaze fixed on her. His jaw clenched as he replayed the look Malik had given him days before, that silent defiance, that unspoken claim over his stepsister. "She's mine," Tyrone thought bitterly. "She doesn't even know it yet. No stranger will take her from me." Imani stopped at the corner store to buy a loaf of bread. As she paid, she caught sight of Malik outside. He stood beneath the street lamp, hands in his pockets, watching the world with quiet intensity. When their eyes met, her breath caught. He gave her the faintest nod, and for reasons she couldn't explain, her heart fluttered. But another pair of eyes watched too, Tyrone's, burning with envy. At home, Veronica Carter slammed her wine glass onto the polished table. Imani, you worthless girl! The dishes are still in the sink, she snapped. I just got back, Imani began, but Janelle's mocking laugh cut her off. Always an excuse, Janelle smirked, her glossy wig swinging as she tossed her phone aside. Face it, Mother, she's good for nothing but scrubbing floors. Tyrone leaned in the doorway, arms folded, his stare pinned Imani in place. She's been sneaking around again, he said, his voice low. I saw her talking to that man at the soup kitchen. Veronica's brows arched. That bum? You mean to tell me she's entertaining filth from the streets? Imani's chest tightened. It's not like that. He just needed food. Silence! Veronica's hand slammed against the table. If I catch you disgracing this family's name with gutter trash, you'll regret it. Imani turned away, tears stinging her eyes, but behind her, Tyrone's gaze lingered, smoldering with something far more dangerous than his mother's scorn. The next afternoon, Malik noticed Imani struggling to carry a heavy crate of food supplies into the kitchen. He moved quickly, his strong arms lifting the burden as if it weighed nothing. You shouldn't have to do this alone, he murmured. Imani's cheeks warmed. I manage. You shouldn't have to manage, he said softly, his eyes locking onto hers. You deserve help, respect, more than this. Her heart skipped, his words striking deeper than she wanted to admit. She pulled back, busying herself with the trays. You don't know me. I know enough, Malik replied, his tone firm. Enough to see you're stronger than you think. For a moment, silence stretched between them, heavy with unspoken truths. From the doorway, Tyrone watched, his fists clenched, rage simmering. That night, Imani sat at her small desk, studying by the dim glow of her lamp. Her textbooks were old, the edges frayed, but her dream of becoming a nurse burned bright within her. Suddenly, Tyrone burst into her room without knocking. Imani gasped, clutching her chest. Tyrone, what are you doing? He leaned against the wall, smirking. I saw the way he looks at you. That bum. Thinks he's better than me. Imani frowned. You're drunk. Leave me alone. He stepped closer, his breath hot with anger. Don't you see? He doesn't care about you, but me. His eyes darkened, voice dropping to a whisper. I've always cared. Imani recoiled, horror flooding her veins. You're my brother. Step-brother, he spat. We share no blood. Her heart pounded. Get out! She shouted, shoving past him. But as he left, his smile was chilling. He'll never have you, Imani. Never. Days later, Veronica handed Imani a mountain of laundry, smirking. Since you love acting like a maid, you may as well earn your keep, she sneered. Imani silently obeyed, carrying the basket down the street to the laundromat. As she folded clothes, Malik appeared at the door, his broad frame filling the entrance. You shouldn't be here alone, he said, stepping inside. Imani forced a smile. I'm fine. He studied her carefully, noting the exhaustion in her eyes. Without another word, he began helping her fold. Her hands shook as their fingers brushed. She dared not look up, afraid of what she might see in his gaze. But Malik's eyes lingered on her, soft yet burning with unspoken promise. From outside, Tyrone's shadow darkened the window. His jaw tightened. His obsession was spiraling beyond control. One evening, Angela Harrington arrived at the soup kitchen unannounced. Regal in her silver-streaked locks and tailored coat, she scanned the room until her eyes found Malik. Malik, she said sharply, her tone scolding but affectionate. Imani froze. Malik? Angela's gaze softened as she approached him. You can't keep hiding like this. Your father's empire. Malik's hand shot up. Not here, he warned, his eyes darting to Imani. Angela's brows arched knowingly. Her gaze flicked to Imani, then back to her nephew. She said nothing more, but the tension was undeniable. Imani's stomach twisted. Who exactly was this man she had saved? That night, Tyrone confronted Malik outside the kitchen. "You think you're clever," Tyrone sneered, stepping closer. "But I know you're hiding something, and when I find out what it is, I'll use it to destroy you." Malik's expression didn't waver. "Stay away from Imani." Tyrone's laugh was low and cruel. "You don't own her. No one does. And if I can't have her, no one will." His words hung heavy in the night air, thick with threat. Inside her small bedroom, Imani sat by the window, staring out at the moonlit street. Her heart was a battlefield, torn between fear of Tyrone's dangerous fixation and the growing warmth she felt whenever Malik was near. She pressed her hand to her chest, whispering into the quiet, "Who are you really?" The question haunted her, even as her heart already knew the answer she feared most. Malik was not who he seemed, and when the truth finally came, it would shatter everything. The night was quiet, too quiet, and Imani Carter hated the way the silence followed her down the cracked sidewalks. She clutched her bag tighter, her steps quickening as the wind whipped against her braids. She wasn't supposed to be out this late. Veronica would be furious when she got home. But the soup kitchen had needed her, and Imani had stayed behind to clean when everyone else left. Now, walking alone, her skin prickled with unease. She wasn't alone. From the shadows, Tyrone's figure emerged. His eyes glistened with hunger and fury, his broad frame blocking the path ahead. "Well, well, baby sister," he drawled, his voice thick with malice. "Walking home all alone? Don't you know how dangerous these streets are?" Imani froze, her pulse thundering. "Tyrone, move!" He stepped closer, the stench of alcohol on his breath. "Why should I? You've been sneaking around with that bum, thinking you're too good for us, huh? You think you're better than me?" Her hands trembled, but she stood her ground. "I don't belong to you, Tyrone. Stay away from me." His jaw clenched, rage flickering in his eyes. "You're mine, Imani. Always have been." Before she could scream, he lunged. Suddenly, a powerful hand grabbed Tyrone's wrist mid-air. Malik. His broad shoulders seemed to block out the streetlight, his chest heaving with fury as he shoved Tyrone back. "Touch her again," Malik growled, his voice like thunder, "and it'll be the last thing you ever do." Tyrone stumbled, glaring. "You think you're a hero? You're nothing, a street rat pretending to be a man." Malik's eyes darkened, his fists curling. "Try me," Imani gasped, stepping between them. "Stop, please." Her voice cracked, trembling. "Tyrone, go home before you do something you'll regret." For a moment, the street hung heavy with silence, charged like a storm about to break. Tyrone spat at the ground, his glare fixed on Malik. "This isn't over." Then he stalked off, disappearing into the shadows. Imani turned to Malik, her breath shaking. You shouldn't have gotten involved." But her words died in her throat. That's when she saw it. As Malik adjusted his sleeve, something glinted beneath the streetlight. A watch, not just any watch. A platinum timepiece engraved with the Harrington crest. Imani's stomach dropped. She knew that symbol. Everyone did. The Harringtons were one of the richest families in the city. Their empire stretched across finance, real estate, and politics. Only an heir would wear something like that. But how? Her mind raced. Malik wasn't supposed to be anyone. He was a stranger she had found broken in an alley. A man with nothing, no family, no future. So why was he wearing something worth more than her entire neighborhood? Her voice trembled. Who are you really?" Malik's gaze hardened. For a moment he looked like he might lie, dismiss it all. But then his shoulders dropped and his eyes softened as they met hers. "You deserve the truth," he said quietly. Before he could continue, another voice pierced the air. "Malik Harrington!" Imani spun. An elegant woman approached, her silver-streaked locks gleaming under the light, her long coat flowing behind her. She carried herself like royalty, every step deliberate, her presence commanding. Angela Harrington. Imani had seen her face before, on the news. A philanthropist, a businesswoman, the woman known as the iron backbone of the Harrington family. Imani's knees weakened. Angela's sharp eyes cut to Malik. "Your father is sick with worry, and here you are, playing beggar in the streets. Do you think this is a game?" Malik's jaw tightened. "This isn't about him. It never was." Angela's gaze flicked to Imani, lingering, assessing. "And who is this?" Imani's chest constricted, heat flooding her face. I helped him once." Angela's lips curved into a knowing smile. "Oh, I see. You're the girl." "The girl," Imani whispered, confused, but Angela said no more. Instead, she stepped closer to her nephew. "You can't keep hiding forever, Malik. Your enemies are circling. The board is restless. If you keep this up, they'll destroy Harrington Holdings." "I don't care about Harrington Holdings," Malik snapped, his voice rougher than Imani had ever heard it. "I care about the truth, about who I can trust." His eyes returned to Imani, piercing, searching her face as though she were the answer to a question only he knew. Imani staggered back, shaking her head. No, this doesn't make sense. You're supposed to be—" Her voice cracked. "I thought you were just a man who needed saving." Malik's eyes softened. "And I was, but I'm also more than that. I'm the heir to Harrington Holdings. And now, you know my secret." Her chest heaved, her thoughts a blur. She wanted to scream, to cry, to run. The shame of what she had done to save him surged through her, twisting like a blade. A billionaire heir. That's who she had sacrificed everything for, and he didn't even know. Angela stepped closer, her eyes sharp. "Careful with this one, Malik. Secrets like hers don't stay buried forever." Imani's heart stopped. "What?" Angela's gaze lingered on her knowingly, though she said nothing more. Malik's hand brushed Imani's shoulder, gentle yet desperate. "Please, don't tell anyone. Not yet. If my enemies find out where I've been, who I've been with, you'll be in danger." Her breath shook. "Danger, Malik. I'm already in danger. My own family. Tyrone." She broke off, her throat tightening. Malik's expression darkened, his jaw firm. "Then I'll protect you. From Tyrone, from Veronica, from anyone who tries to hurt you." Imani's heart twisted. His words felt like a promise, but promises were dangerous. She had already lost too much. Still, as his hand lingered against hers, she couldn't stop the way her pulse quickened, the way her soul felt pulled toward him like gravity. That night, as she lay awake in her small bed, staring at the ceiling, Imani whispered into the dark. "He's not who I thought he was." Tears slid down her cheeks. "And if he finds out who I really am, he'll never forgive me." Imani Carter's hands shook as she washed dishes in the cramped kitchen sink. The night before replayed endlessly in her mind. Malik's fierce protection, the flash of his expensive watch, Angela Harrington's sharp voice calling him heir. He wasn't a stranger. He wasn't homeless. He wasn't the man she thought she'd sacrificed everything for. He was Malik Harrington, billionaire heir to an empire that could buy and sell everything in her world 1,000 times over. And now she knew, but worse, if he ever learned what she had done for him, the shame would crush her. Veronica's voice cut through the air like glass. "Janelle, Tyrone, come here. You need to see this." Imani stiffened as she wiped her hands. Veronica was sprawled across the living room sofa, her silk robe shimmering, phone in hand. Janelle leaned over her shoulder, her eyes widening at the screen. "Wait, is that—" Janelle gasped. Veronica's red-painted lips curled into a slow, wicked smile. "Oh yes, Malik Harrington, billionaire, heir to Harrington Holdings. And guess who I saw him with last night?" Janelle's eyes gleamed. "Imani?" Veronica nodded, her voice dripping with venom. "Our little maid has been hiding a secret. She's caught the eye of the richest man in the city." Tyrone's fists clenched from the corner. "He's mine to deal with." Veronica ignored him, her mind already scheming. "This is our chance. If Janelle plays her cards right, she'll be Mrs. Harrington before the year is out. And Imani," Veronica's voice hardened, "will be nothing more than a stepping stone we bury under our heels." The next afternoon, Malik found Imani sitting on the bench behind the soup kitchen, her books in her lap. "I looked for you inside," he said softly, lowering himself beside her. Imani didn't meet his gaze. "You shouldn't be here." His brow furrowed. "Why?" "Because you lied to me," she whispered, her voice trembling. "You let me think you were no one. You let me—" Her words broke, shame choking her throat. Malik's jaw tightened. "I never wanted to deceive you. I just needed to know if anyone could see me for who I was, not for my name. And you did." Imani finally looked up, her brown eyes shimmering with tears. "But you don't understand. You don't know what it cost me to save you." His hand reached for hers, warm, steady. "Then tell me. Whatever it is, I'll bear it." She pulled away, shaking her head. "Number. If you knew, you'd never look at me the same." Silence stretched between them, heavy with all the things left unsaid. That evening, Veronica and Janelle stormed into the soup kitchen, overdressed in designer heels and fur coats. Heads turned as they strutted inside, Janelle's eyes locking on Malik instantly. "There you are," Veronica said sweetly, her voice dripping with false warmth. "Mr. Harrington, what a surprise. We had no idea you were indulging in charity work." Imani froze at the sound of his name on her stepmother's lips. Malik stood slowly, his posture dignified, controlled. "And who are you?" Veronica pressed a manicured hand against her chest. "Veronica Carter. This is my daughter, Janelle." Janelle stepped forward, flashing a radiant smile. "It's such an honor, Mr. Harrington. I've always admired men who use their power to help the less fortunate. You must be extraordinary." Malik's eyes flickered to Imani, then back to Janelle. "I do what I can." Imani's stomach twisted as she watched Janelle bat her lashes, touching Malik's arm as if she owned him already. Veronica leaned closer, her voice conspiratorial. "You deserve women who match your station, Mr. Harrington, not girls who belong in kitchens." Her cold eyes cut straight to Imani. Imani's cheeks burned as humiliation seared through her. Malik's jaw clenched, his gaze hardening. "That girl," he said firmly, "has more worth in her heart than money could ever buy." The room went silent. Veronica's smile faltered, but Janelle tightened her grip on his arm, masking her fury with a laugh. "Of course. Still, Mr. Harrington, we'd love to invite you to dinner, a proper setting, with a proper family." Malik didn't answer, his eyes still locked on Imani. Later, as they walked home, Imani's silence cut deeper than any words. Malik finally broke it. "I don't care about your stepmother, or your stepsister. I care about you." Imani stopped in the middle of the street, her voice breaking. "But you don't know me. Not really. You don't know the things I've done, the shame I carry." He stepped closer, his voice low, steady. "Then let me know. Let me carry it with you." Her tears spilled over, and she shook her head violently. "Number. If you knew the truth, you would never forgive me." She turned and ran before he could stop her, her sobs echoing in the night. Inside the Carter house, Tyrone stood in his room, his mind burning with rage. He had seen it, the way Malik looked at Imani, the way she looked back. "She's mine," he hissed to himself, pacing. "Always mine." He yanked open his drawer, pulling out a crumpled envelope, a copy of Imani's hospital bill, one he had stolen weeks ago when snooping through her things, and there, in black and white, was proof of her secret, the mysterious payment, the surgery that saved a nameless man. Tyrone's lips curled into a vicious smile. "Oh, Imani," he whispered darkly, "you thought you could hide from me, but soon Malik will know exactly what kind of girl you are." Imani lay awake that night, staring at the ceiling, clutching her pillow as tears soaked the fabric. She had lost control of her life. Malik's truth had shattered her trust. Veronica and Janelle's schemes loomed like storms, and Tyrone's eyes followed her everywhere, dark with obsession. Her chest ached as she whispered into the dark, "God, how much more can I take?" But the night offered no answer, only the quiet promise of betrayal waiting just beyond the dawn. The ballroom glittered with chandeliers, their crystal drops scattering light across gowns and tuxedos. Every elite family in the city was present, and the air buzzed with anticipation. On stage, cameras flashed, reporters leaned forward, and murmurs rippled through the crowd. Malik Harrington, heir to one of the most powerful fortunes in America, had announced that tonight he would reveal his plans for marriage. Imani Carter stood hidden at the back, her thrift store dress clashing with the sea of designer silk. She wasn't supposed to be there. Veronica had dragged her along to carry Janelle's train, to serve as a silent shadow while her stepsister preened for the cameras. "Smile, darling," Veronica whispered to Janelle, adjusting her wig. "Tonight is your night. He'll choose you." Janelle smirked, her lips glossed to perfection. "Of course he will. A Harrington deserves a Harrington-worthy wife." Her eyes flicked back toward Imani. "Not some nobody." Imani clenched her hands, her heart pounding. She told herself she didn't care. She told herself Malik's world was not her own, but deep inside, fear twisted with something dangerous, something she dared not name, because if Malik spoke her name tonight, everything would change. The crowd erupted as Malik stepped forward. He was regal in his tailored black suit, his mahogany skin glowing under the chandeliers. His presence silenced the room before he even spoke. "Good evening," he began, his voice deep, steady. "For years I've lived behind a name, behind wealth, behind power. But wealth means nothing without truth, and tonight I will make a choice. Not just for myself, but for my future, for my family, and for the empire I will one day lead." Cameras clicked furiously. Veronica held her breath. Janelle straightened her gown, already rehearsing her victory smile. Imani's chest tightened, her eyes locked on him. "I have searched for a woman of integrity," Malik continued. "A woman whose heart is pure, whose courage outshines gold, and I have found her." The room stilled. Veronica nudged Janelle, who lifted her chin proudly. "He means me," she whispered, but then Malik's gaze swept the room, past the glittering gowns, past the expectant smiles, and landed on Imani. His voice was unwavering. "Imani Carter." The ballroom gasped as one. Imani's knees buckled, her breath catching. Veronica's face drained of color, and Janelle's jaw dropped in horror. Malik extended his hand. "Come stand with me." Imani shook her head, tears brimming in her eyes. "No, I can't." "Yes, you can," Malik said firmly, his voice carrying across the room, "because you are the woman I choose." Every eye turned to her, the weight of judgment pressing down. She heard whispers like daggers. "Her? The maid? She doesn't belong here. Janelle's face twisted with fury as she shoved past Imani. This is a joke, she screamed. You can't possibly choose her over me. She's nothing. She doesn't deserve to breathe the same air as us. Enough. Malik's voice cut through the noise like a blade. His dark eyes burned as he stepped forward. Respect her, or you will respect no one. The silence was deafening. Imani trembled as Malik's hand closed gently around hers, pulling her onto the stage. Cameras flashed, blinding her. The warmth of his grip steadied her shaking legs, but her heart pounded with shame, because deep inside, she knew if the truth ever came out, if Malik learned what she had given up to save his life, he would never look at her the same. Veronica's fury boiled over. She plastered on a smile for the cameras, but her grip on Janelle's arm was iron. We won't let her win, she hissed under her breath. Not now, not ever. Janelle's nails dug into her palms as she forced back tears. He embarrassed me, in front of everyone. I'll destroy her. Veronica's eyes narrowed, her voice low, venomous. Then we start tonight. If Malik Harrington thinks he can elevate a servant into high society, he has no idea who he's dealing with. After the announcement, Malik guided Imani into a private corridor, away from the flashing lights. She pulled her hand free, tears slipping down her cheeks. Why did you do this? She whispered, her voice breaking. Because it's the truth, Malik said softly. I love you. Her heart stopped. The words were everything she'd wanted and everything she feared. No, she said, shaking her head violently. You don't love me. You love the idea of me. If you knew what I really was, you'd hate me. He stepped closer, his hand cupping her cheek, his eyes fierce. Then tell me what it is you think is so unforgivable, because I swear nothing could change how I see you. She turned away, sobbing silently. She couldn't. Not now. Not ever. Malik's arms fell to his sides, frustration shadowing his features. He wanted to shake the truth out of her, but the pain in her eyes stopped him. Instead, he whispered, Then let me prove it to you. Let me prove that my love is stronger than whatever you're hiding. But across the hall, Tyrone lurked in the shadows, watching. He had seen it all, Malik's declaration, Imani's trembling, her shame. And in his hand, folded neatly, was the hospital bill he had stolen, the proof of Imani's darkest secret. A cruel smile tugged at his lips. Oh, little sister, he whispered, you think he loves you now. But once he knows what you've done, he'll throw you away like trash, and then you'll have no one, except me. Back at the Carter house, Veronica slammed her purse onto the table. How dare he humiliate us like this? She screamed, pacing the floor. Choosing her over my daughter, in front of the entire city. Janelle's tears streaked her carefully painted face. He was supposed to be mine. He will be yours, Veronica spat, her eyes glinting. Because Imani doesn't belong in his world, and soon she'll be out of it. Her voice dropped into a hiss. By the time I'm finished, Malik Harrington will regret ever speaking her name. Imani sat alone in her room that night, staring at her reflection in the cracked mirror. She touched her lips where his words still lingered. I love you. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to believe in miracles. But deep down, she knew the truth. Secrets didn't stay buried forever. And when Malik learned hers, love would not be enough to save her. The Harrington estate glittered under the night sky, its grand windows glowing with light. Inside, reporters were still buzzing about Malik's shocking announcement. The billionaire heir had chosen Imani Carter, a poor girl mocked by her own family, as his bride-to-be. But while the world gossiped, Imani's steps at the edge of the estate garden were heavy, each breath sharp with fear. Malik's declaration had set the city ablaze, yet instead of feeling joy, She carried dread like a chain around her neck, because Tyrone knew, and Tyrone never stayed quiet for long. She didn't have to wait long for the storm to break. That evening, as she walked home from the Harrington estate, a hand yanked her into the shadows of a narrow alley. "Gotcha." Tyrone's smirk glinted in the dim streetlight, his dark eyes blazing with cruel triumph. He shoved a folded envelope into her chest. Imani gasped. It was the hospital bill, her hospital bill, the night she saved Malik. Her blood ran cold. "Where did you get this?" Tyrone leaned close, his breath hot against her ear. "I've always known you were hiding something, and here it is, spelled out in black and white. You gave yourself away, little sister. The whole world thinks you're innocent, but I know the truth." Her knees weakened. "Tyrone, please." "Oh, I'll keep your dirty little secret," he sneered, "but only if you give me what I want." Her voice trembled. "And what do you want?" His grin widened. "Simple. Leave Malik. End this little fairy tale before it begins. Because if you don't, I'll tell him everything. And when I do..." He chuckled darkly. "He'll see you for the fraud you are, a desperate girl who sold herself for a stranger's life." Imani staggered back, clutching the bill to her chest. Her mind spun with panic. If Malik knew, if he ever learned the price she had paid to save him, his love would turn to ashes. "Tyrone, you can't," she began, but he cut her off with a hiss. "I can, and I will. Don't test me, Imani. You've got until the end of the week. End things with Malik, or I'll end them for you." Then he vanished into the night, leaving her trembling, broken, the paper shaking in her hands. The next day, Malik appeared at the soup kitchen, his tall frame filling the doorway. His eyes lit up the moment they found hers. "Imani," he said warmly, stepping toward her, but she turned away, her chest heaving. His presence filled her with warmth and terror all at once. "You've been distant since the announcement," he said gently, his brows furrowing. "Talk to me. Tell me what's wrong." She forced a shaky smile, her voice flat. "Nothing's wrong." "Don't lie to me." His hand brushed her arm, tender, insistent. "I see it in your eyes. You're carrying something heavy. Please let me share it." Her throat tightened. She wanted to collapse into his arms, to confess everything, to beg him to still love her. But Tyrone's threat echoed in her head like poison. I just need space," she whispered, pulling away. "Maybe we rushed things. Maybe this isn't right." Pain flickered in his gaze, but Malik didn't let go. "Imani, look at me. I chose you. Out of everyone, I chose you, and nothing will change that." Her tears spilled over, but she tore her hand from his and fled into the kitchen, her sobs muffled by the clang of dishes. Malik stood frozen, frustration burning in his chest. He didn't know what secret she carried, but he vowed then and there he would uncover it, and he would not let her slip away. Meanwhile, Veronica's schemes deepened. She and Janelle sat in the parlor, champagne glasses in hand. "Did you see the way Malik looked at her?" Janelle spat, her voice trembling with rage. "Like she was some queen, while I was humiliated in front of everyone." Veronica sipped her drink, her eyes sharp. "Then we'll humiliate her in return. Men like Malik don't stay loyal when their women are dragged through the mud. We just need the right dirt." Janelle frowned. "But what if there isn't any?" Veronica's smirk curved like a knife. "Oh, sweetheart, every girl has secrets, and I guarantee Imani Carter's are filthy." As if on cue, Tyrone stepped in, tossing the hospital bill onto the table. "Already found them," he sneered. Janelle's eyes widened as she snatched it up. "What is this?" "Proof," Tyrone said darkly. "She isn't pure, she isn't innocent, and when Malik sees this, she'll be finished. Veronica's laughter filled the room like thunder. Then let's make sure he does. Days later, Malik planned a dinner for Imani at a quiet rooftop restaurant overlooking the city skyline. Candles flickered, violins played, and he held her hand across the table. "You don't have to be afraid anymore," he told her gently. "I know your stepmother treats you cruelly. I know your brother is dangerous, but you're safe with me. I'll protect you from all of them." Imani's chest ached. She wanted to believe him. His eyes were full of sincerity, his touch warm and steady. But Tyrone's voice echoed in her mind. "Leave him, or he'll know everything." She forced a smile, hiding her tears. "I don't deserve you, Malik." His grip tightened. "Yes, you do. And one day, I'll prove to you just how much." Back at the Carter house, Tyrone seethed. Imani hadn't obeyed. She hadn't left Malik. "You think you're clever," he muttered to himself, pacing his room. "But time's up." He pulled out his phone, snapping a picture of the hospital bill. His lips curved into a twisted grin. "Let's see how perfect Malik thinks you are when he learns the truth." That night, Imani knelt at her bedside, tears soaking her pillow. She whispered into the dark, her voice trembling. "God, please, don't let him find out. Not like this, not from Tyrone." But as she prayed, she didn't know Tyrone's message was already on its way. A cruel trap about to shatter her fragile world. The whispers spread like wildfire. By morning, the city's tabloids had already printed the headline, "Harrington Heir's bride-to-be, not so innocent after all." The article was filled with venom, rumors of a poor girl who had sold herself at a hospital, speculation that Malik Harrington had been deceived by a schemer. Though no names were listed, everyone knew exactly who the story pointed to. Imani Carter. At the soup kitchen that day, Imani felt the stares. Conversations halted when she passed. Mothers pulled their children closer, volunteers exchanged glances, and one woman sneered under her breath. "There's the girl who trapped him." Imani's hands shook as she set down a tray. Heat burned her cheeks, and her vision blurred with unshed tears. They know. They all know. By evening, Malik stormed into the Carter house, his broad frame filling the doorway. His eyes blazed with fury, his jaw sharp with tension. "Imani!" His voice thundered through the small living room. She hurried down the stairs, heart hammering. "Malik, what's wrong?" He held up his phone, the article glowing on the screen. "What is this?" Imani froze, her breath catching. "You told me there was nothing, no secret too big for us to overcome." Malik's voice broke, heavy with betrayal. "But this—" He shoved the screen toward her. "Is it true?" Tears spilled down her cheeks. "Malik, answer me." His voice cracked like a whip. "Did you give yourself away to save me? Was I nothing more than a bargain to you?" Her chest caved in. The shame she had carried in silence, the sacrifice she had made in desperation, all twisted into poison in his words. "I didn't do it for money," she whispered, choking on tears. "I did it to save your life." Malik staggered back as if she'd struck him, his fists curled at his sides. "You should have told me." His voice shook with rage and hurt. "You let me fall in love with a lie." "No," she cried, reaching for him, but he pulled away. Behind them, Veronica's lips curved into a satisfied smile as she descended the stairs with Janelle in tow. "Don't waste your time on her, Mr. Harrington," Veronica purred. "She's been nothing but a disgrace since the day she came into my home. But my daughter, Janelle, she's worthy of you." Janelle stepped forward, feigning sorrow. "Malik, you deserve someone honest, someone who understands your world. I could be that for you." Malik's jaw tightened, his chest heaving. He glanced at Imani, her face streaked with tears, then turned away, fury clouding his gaze. That night, Janelle found him at a private bar downtown. She slid into the booth beside him, her perfume thick in the air, her hand brushing his arm. "She humiliated you, Malik," Janelle whispered, her voice smooth as silk. "And she'll keep humiliating you. But I wouldn't. I'd stand by your side. Together, we'd be unstoppable." Malik downed his drink, his eyes distant. "I don't need unstoppable," he muttered. "I needed the truth." Janelle leaned closer, her lips almost grazing his ear. "Then let me give it to you. The truth is, you deserve better, and I can be that for you." For a fleeting moment, Malik allowed her presence, the distraction dulling the ache inside him. But deep in his chest, his heart still beat for only one woman. Back at the Carter house, Veronica and Tyrone reveled in their victory. "You see?" Veronica laughed, swirling her glass of wine. "He's furious with her. Soon, Janelle will replace her at his side, and all of this will be ours." Janelle smiled, but Tyrone's expression was darker. "He may be angry," Tyrone muttered, "but his eyes still follow her. He still wants her." "Then we'll make him forget," Veronica said coldly. "And if Imani dares to fight, we'll bury her with her own shame." Imani fled into the night, her tears blurring the city lights. She stumbled into the small church on the corner, collapsing into the front pew. "God," she sobbed, her voice raw. "Why do you let them win? Why must I always be the one humiliated, the one broken? All I ever wanted was to do the right thing. All I ever wanted was to save him. And now he hates me." The silence pressed heavy against her chest, but in the shadows, a voice broke through. "You saved him because you are good," Angela Harrington said softly, stepping forward. Her silver-streaked locks glowed in the candlelight. "Don't let shame destroy you, child. Shame is the weapon of the cruel. But truth—" Her eyes glinted. "Truth is a sword that cuts them down." Imani looked up, broken. "But he doesn't believe me. He thinks I deceived him." Angela's hand rested gently on her shoulder. "He will see the truth in time, but for now, you must endure." Meanwhile, Malik sat alone in his penthouse, the city lights sprawling beneath him. His chest ached with conflict, his mind replaying every word Imani had spoken. "I did it to save your life." Her tears haunted him, her trembling voice echoing in his head. He wanted to believe her. He wanted to hold her. But the betrayal gnawed at him, louder than the love in his heart. Was she a liar? Or was she the only person who had ever truly cared for him? His fists slammed against the table. He didn't know anymore. At the Carter house, Tyrone cornered Imani in the hallway. His grin was feral, his voice a low hiss. "See, I told you, he hates you now, and soon you'll have no one left but me." Imani shoved past him, her eyes blazing. "I will never belong to you." Tyrone's smirk didn't fade. "We'll see, little sister. We'll see." Days later, Malik attended a gala with Janelle at his side. Cameras flashed as they arrived together, Veronica beaming like a queen. But behind the smiles, Malik's heart remained heavy, his eyes scanning the crowd for the one face he longed to see. And across the street, in the shadows, Imani watched. Her chest ached, but her resolve hardened. If this is the price of my sacrifice, then so be it. But one day, the truth will set me free. The night pressed heavy over the city, but Imani could feel no peace. She hadn't slept in days, her eyes swollen from tears, her body trembling under the crushing weight of shame. Malik had turned from her, the tabloids shredded her name, and Veronica paraded Janelle in front of him like a jewel. But one thought burned brighter than her despair. The doctor. The man who had coerced her into sacrifice, the man who held her shame like a dagger at her throat. If Tyrone and Veronica had gotten the hospital bill, then somewhere, there was more proof. and she had to destroy it before it destroyed her. Imani marched into the hospital late at night, her hood pulled low. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as her footsteps echoed down the empty corridor. She stopped at the office door of Dr. Wallace Green, the very man who had forced her into the unthinkable bargain. The door was slightly ajar. She pushed it open, her breath quickening. Dr. Green looked up from his desk, his pale fingers curling around a tumbler of whiskey. His eyes narrowed. "Well, well," he said smoothly, "the Virgin Saint herself. Come back to sell me another piece of your purity?" Imani flinched, disgust swirling in her gut. "I came for the papers," she snapped, her voice trembling with fury. "The records, the bill, every trace of what you did. Give them to me." He chuckled darkly, leaning back in his chair. "Ah, so the rich boy found out, and now you're desperate to clean your name." He swirled the amber liquid in his glass. "But why should I help you? That little deal paid my bills for months." Imani's fists clenched. "Because what you did was wrong. You exploited me. You threatened me. I was just trying to save a dying man's life." Dr. Green's smile twisted into cruelty. "And you think anyone will care? No one cares what happens to poor girls like you. You're nothing, Imani, a disposable body." Her eyes blazed with tears, but her voice did not waver. "I may be poor, but I'm not disposable. You will not ruin me, not anymore." She lunged forward, slamming her hands on his desk. "Destroy the papers, Dr. Green, or I swear I'll expose you." For the first time, a flicker of unease crossed his face. But before he could respond, a slow clap echoed from the doorway. Dr. Green's smile twisted into cruelty. "And you think anyone will care? No one cares what happens to poor girls like you. You're nothing, Imani, a disposable body." Her eyes blazed with tears, but her voice did not waver. "I may be poor, but I'm not disposable. You will not ruin me, not anymore." She lunged forward, slamming her hands on his desk. "Destroy the papers, Dr. Green, or I swear I'll expose you." For the first time, a flicker of unease crossed his face, but before he could respond, a slow clap echoed from the doorway. Tyrone leaned casually against the frame, his locks pulled back, a twisted grin on his face. "Beautiful," he drawled. "Absolutely beautiful. My sweet Imani, all fire and fury. Do you have any idea how much I crave you like this?" Imani whirled around, horror flashing across her face. "Tyrone, what are you doing here?" He stepped into the room, his gaze locked on her like prey. "Following you, watching you, making sure no one hurts you, except me, of course." "Leave me alone," she hissed, her voice breaking. But Tyrone only laughed, circling her like a predator. "You think Malik loves you? He doesn't. He's ashamed of you. But me." His voice dropped to a growl. "I've wanted you from the moment you stepped into this house. Every glance, every smile you gave anyone else. It should have been mine." Imani's stomach churned. "You're my stepbrother." His eyes darkened. "So? Blood or no blood, you were meant to be mine. And now that Malik's gone, nothing stands in my way." Dr. Green smirked in the corner, watching the chaos unfold. "This is getting interesting." Imani backed toward the door, her pulse racing. "Stay away from me, Tyrone." But he lunged, slamming his hand against the wall beside her head. "No, Imani, stay with me, because if I can't have you—" His grin turned feral. "Then no one will." The door suddenly slammed open. Malik stood there, his tall frame rigid, his eyes ablaze with fury. His chest heaved as he took in the scene. Imani pressed against the wall, Tyrone towering over her, Dr. Green smirking in the corner. "What the hell is going on here?" Malik's voice thundered through the office. Imani gasped, her relief spilling over into sobs. "Malik, But Tyrone only smirked. "Perfect timing, brother-in-law. Come listen to the truth." "Truth?" Malik growled, stepping forward. "Yes," Tyrone sneered. He grabbed Imani's wrist, yanking her forward. "Tell him, Imani. Tell him what you gave up to save his worthless life. Tell him how you sold yourself." Malik's eyes narrowed, his fists trembling at his sides. "Let her go." But Tyrone only tightened his grip. "You think she's innocent? She's not. She's mine. She's always been mine." His eyes glittered with obsession. "She gave herself away for you, but it should have been me," Imani sobbed, wrenching free from his grasp. "Stop it! Malik, it's not what he says." Malik's chest heaved, torn between rage and despair. His voice shook. "Imani, is it true?" Imani's world seemed to stop. This was the moment she had dreaded, the moment she prayed would never come. Her knees buckled as she whispered, "Yes." "It's true." Malik's eyes widened, pain slicing through them like a blade. "But listen to me," she cried, stumbling toward him. "It wasn't what you think. I never wanted to. I never planned it. He was dying, Malik. You were dying. The doctor said he wouldn't operate unless I gave him something. And I gave him the only thing I had." Tears streamed down her face, her words breaking into sobs. "I didn't do it for money. I didn't do it for gain. I did it because I couldn't let you die, because even then, even before I knew who you were, I loved you." Silence filled the room. Malik's breath came ragged, his eyes glistening. The weight of her word crashed over him, raw and undeniable. Dr. Green scoffed from behind his desk. "Touching, but still pathetic. She was mine before she was yours, Harrington." That was the final straw. With a roar, Malik lunged across the room, his fist slamming into Dr. Green's jaw. The doctor tumbled to the ground, blood spraying from his mouth. "Don't you ever speak about her again," Malik snarled, towering over him. "You preyed on her desperation, you disgusting coward. You used her shame to line your pockets, and now you'll pay." He turned to Tyrone, his eyes blazing. "And you—" Tyrone raised his hands mockingly. "What? Going to hit your darling stepbrother?" Malik's fist connected with Tyrone's jaw before he could finish. Tyrone staggered back, spitting blood, but his grin never faded. "You can hit me all you want," Tyrone growled, "but it won't change the truth. She's tainted, and now the whole world knows it." Malik's chest heaved as he stepped between Tyrone and Imani. Shielding her with his body, his voice thundered with conviction. "She is not tainted. She is not broken. She is mine. And if the world dares to shame her, then let it shame me too, because I will stand with her until my last breath." Imani's sobs broke into gasps as she clung to him, her body trembling against his chest. For the first time in weeks, she felt safe. But Tyrone wasn't finished. He wiped the blood from his mouth, his grin twisted and unhinged. "You think you've won, Malik? You haven't. You can protect her from me, but you can't protect her from the world. They'll tear her apart. They'll spit on her name, and when they do, she'll come crawling back to me." Imani shuddered, but Malik only pulled her closer. "No, Tyrone, she'll never crawl to you. Not now. Not ever." Police sirens wailed outside, summoned by the chaos. Dr. Green scrambled to his feet, his face pale with terror. Tyrone's grin faltered as flashing lights spilled into the room. Malik's arm tightened around Imani. "This ends tonight." The courthouse lobby was a storm of flashing cameras, reporters shouting questions, and security guards straining to push them back. Imani clutched Malik's arm as they stepped inside, her pulse racing. This was not just a hearing. This was the day everything would change. For Tyrone, for Veronica, and for her. "Don't let them rattle you," Malik whispered, his deep voice grounding her. His hand lingered at her back, firm, protective. "This is about truth, nothing else." She nodded, though her chest tightened. For so long she had lived under Veronica's cruelty, under Tyrone's shadow, always feeling smaller, weaker, voiceless. But now the world was about to hear the truth, not from Tyrone's lies, not from Veronica's venom, but from Malik's unshakable determination. When the heavy courtroom doors swung open, the noise outside fell into silence. Tyrone stood at the defendant's table, dressed in a suit too sharp for his own arrogance, smirking as if he still had the upper hand. Veronica sat behind him, her jeweled fingers clutching a silk handkerchief, her face lifted proudly like she wasn't the mother of a man about to be dragged through scandal. Imani felt her skin crawl under Tyrone's gaze. He looked at her as if she belonged to him still, his dark eyes glinting with obsession. When he licked his lips and winked, she shivered and pressed closer to Malik. Malik caught the gesture, and his jaw clenched. He leaned toward her. "Don't look at him. Look at me. He's already lost." The judge entered. All rose. The trial began. The prosecutor's voice rang clear as she laid out the charges: blackmail, harassment, theft from Harrington Holdings accounts, conspiracy with Dr. Green, and multiple counts of abuse. Gasps rippled through the spectators as documents flashed on the screen. Bank transfers, hidden accounts, security footage of late-night exchanges. Imani watched Tyrone shift uneasily, though his smirk never fully faded. Veronica leaned forward, whispering harshly in his ear, her hand squeezing his shoulder like a serpent tightening its coil. When Malik was called to the stand, the atmosphere thickened. He walked with the commanding grace of a man who had nothing to hide. His broad shoulders squared, his voice steady, he recounted everything: how Tyrone had harassed Imani, how he had cornered her in the hospital, how he had even confessed his obsession in front of Malik himself. "Mr. Harrington," the prosecutor asked, "why bring this case to court when your family has the wealth to bury it quietly?" Malik's gaze swept over the audience, landing briefly on Imani. His eyes softened before hardening again with resolve. "Because money doesn't erase evil. Tyrone Carter preyed on someone who could not defend herself. He used fear, shame, and lies to control her, and when he realized he couldn't have her, he tried to destroy her reputation. That is not just a family matter, that is a crime." The judge's gavel struck once to quiet the murmurs. Veronica shifted, her painted smile cracking at the edges. Imani's heart swelled. For years she had endured Veronica calling her weak, insignificant, a burden. Yet here was Malik, a man of unimaginable power, telling the world that her suffering mattered, that she mattered. The defense tried to spin it, painting Tyrone as misunderstood, even accusing Imani of manipulation. But then came the moment no one could refute. Dr. Green, called as a witness under subpoena. He walked in pale and trembling, avoiding Malik's eyes. Under pressure, his facade cracked like glass. He admitted to the bargain, admitted to withholding treatment, admitted to exploiting Imani's desperation. Gasps echoed. A woman in the gallery covered her mouth and wept. Imani bowed her head, tears burning. The room knew, the world knew. Her secret, her deepest shame, was no longer hers to carry alone. But instead of laughter or condemnation, there was outrage directed not at her, but at the men who had used her. Tyrone exploded. "She wanted it!" he shouted, slamming his hands on the table. "She begged for me, too. She's been playing all of you, acting innocent while—" "Enough!" the judge barked, but Malik had already surged forward, restrained only by his attorney's grip. His voice shook with fury. "Say another word about her, and you'll regret it." The judge ordered order in the court, but the damage was done. Tyrone's mask of control had shattered, exposing the raw, ugly obsession beneath. When Imani herself was called, her legs nearly gave way. But Malik rose, offering his hand. "I'll walk with you." She stood before the court, voice quivering but unbroken. "I didn't ask for this life. I didn't ask to be used. All I ever wanted was to help others. That night I thought I was saving a stranger. I didn't know he was Malik Harrington, heir to billions. I only knew he was dying, and I couldn't let him die. What was done to me, it was wrong. But I don't carry that shame anymore. It's not mine to carry. It belongs to the men who forced it on me." The silence was heavy, broken only by the judge's measured tone. "Thank you, Miss Carter. You may step down." As she returned to her seat, Malik's hand enclosed hers. He whispered, "You were perfect. You were brave. I've never been prouder." Tyrone's verdict was swift, guilty on multiple counts. He was ordered into custody immediately. As bailiffs approached, he twisted in rage, eyes locked on Imani. "This isn't over," he screamed as he was dragged out. "You'll never be free of me. I'll haunt you until the day you die." The heavy doors slammed shut behind him, his threats echoing like distant thunder. Veronica rose, her face ashen. She rounded on Imani, venom dripping from every syllable. "This is your fault. You've ruined my son. You've ruined this family. You think you've won because Malik stands beside you. But mark my words, girl. I'll make you pay for this." Angela Harrington, regal and unshaken, stood from the gallery. Her silver-streaked locks framed her stern face as she cut across the aisle. "No, Veronica, you ruined your own son. You taught him greed, cruelty, entitlement, and you tried to break this young woman because she had something you never will, purity of heart." The gallery erupted in murmurs as Veronica paled. Angela turned to Imani and took her hand, her voice softening. "Child, don't let her words take root. Today you showed courage that some never find in a lifetime. Walk with your head high. This chapter of darkness is closing." As the court adjourned, Malik guided Imani through the crowd, shielding her from reporters. Outside, the evening air hit her face like freedom. "Malik," she whispered, her voice trembling. "It's over?" He looked down at her, eyes fierce yet gentle. "For him, yes. For us, this is just the beginning." Imani's heart swelled, her tears falling freely now. She had endured shame, cruelty, and betrayal. But at last, the scales of justice tipped in her favor. Tyrone was gone. Veronica's grip was weakening, and for the first time, she allowed herself to believe that love, true, untainted love, could be hers. But even in the glow of victory, shadows lingered. Veronica's eyes as she left the courtroom burned with promises of revenge. Janelle's absence that day was suspicious, her silence louder than words. Imani leaned into Malik's embrace, whispering, "Whatever comes next, we'll face it together." And he vowed softly in her ear, "Always." The day dawned with golden skies over the city, but for Imani Carter, the morning felt unreal. She stood before the tall mirror in a quiet bridal suite, her reflection shimmering in ivory silk and delicate lace. The gown was a gift from Malik, flown in from Paris, its jeweled bodice catching the light like stars. For a girl who had grown up wearing hand-me-downs, it was almost too much to take in. Her hands trembled as she adjusted the veil. Was this real? Could she truly be moments away from becoming Malik Harrington's wife? Angela Harrington stepped into the room, elegance radiating even in her simple navy dress. She carried herself like a queen, and her smile held warmth that steadied Imani's nerves. "You look breathtaking," Angela whispered, touching Imani's cheek. "Malik won't be able to take his eyes off you." Imani swallowed hard, tears threatening to smudge her makeup. "I never imagined this for myself. Not after everything. Part of me feels like something will go wrong." Angela's gaze sharpened. "That's fear speaking. You've endured fire and storm. Today you step into promise. Do not let anyone steal your joy. But outside those walls, dark forces conspired. Veronica Carter, clad in a dress as dazzling as the bride's, stormed through the Harrington Estate's reception hall, giving orders to bribed staff. Her lips curled into a cruel smile as she pressed thick envelopes of cash into eager palms. "Make sure the cake collapses when it's cut," she hissed to one server. "Switch the champagne for cheap substitutes. Make the Harringtons look like fools," she told another. "And if anyone asks," her eyes glinted, "you know nothing." She turned to Janelle, who was waiting with her own wicked surprise. Dressed in a white gown, nearly identical to Imani's, her hair curled into glossy perfection, Janelle looked every inch the bride. "Remember," Veronica said, adjusting Janelle's veil, "when the time comes, you walk out. You claim him before she has a chance. The cameras will eat it up, and Malik will have no choice but to save face." Janelle smirked, her eyes sparkling with greed. "By the end of today, I'll be Mrs. Harrington, not her." The music began. Guests gathered in the opulent hall, chandeliers glittering, violins swelling. Billionaires, politicians, celebrities, all had come to witness the union of Malik Harrington, the most eligible heir in the city, and the girl who had captured his heart. Imani's heart pounded as the doors opened. The sight of Malik waiting at the altar nearly stole her breath. He stood tall and regal in his tailored suit, broad shoulders squared, eyes burning only for her. Every step down the aisle felt like a dream, until she reached him and his hand enveloped hers. "You're perfect," Malik whispered. "And you're mine," she breathed back, the weight of the world dissolving in his gaze. The ceremony began. Words of love and unity filled the air, but just as the officiant declared, "If anyone objects," the grand doors slammed open. Gasps erupted as Janelle Carter strode in, her veil lifted, her gown gleaming. "I object," she shouted, her voice ringing through the hall. "This marriage cannot happen, because I am the true bride." Chaos exploded. Guests rose, murmurs rippling, cameras flashed. Veronica swept in behind her daughter, feigning outrage. "This is a disgrace," she cried, pointing at Imani. "That girl tricked Malik. She's unworthy. She's shamed our family name. Malik belongs with Janelle." Imani's knees buckled. She could hardly breathe as Janelle marched forward, standing boldly before Malik, her gown brushing against his shoes. "Marry me instead," Janelle demanded, her eyes locking onto his. "I am your equal. I am worthy of the Harrington name. Don't throw yourself away on her." Imani's hands trembled in Malik's grasp, fear clawing at her chest. Would he falter? Would he let their lies win? But Malik's jaw tightened, his voice cutting through the uproar like thunder. "Enough!" He stepped forward, shielding Imani with his broad frame. His glare burned into Janelle. "You are nothing to me," Janelle gasped, her face paling. "But Malik, you dare come here dressed like a bride, on the day meant for the woman I love?" His voice shook with fury. "You and your mother have schemed, lied, and humiliated Imani at every turn. And still, she stands with grace. She is the only woman I will ever call my wife." The hall erupted in applause, cheers rising as Veronica's smirk faltered, but she wasn't done. "You fool!" she spat. "Do you know what you're marrying? Do you know the shame she carries? Everyone knows her secret now. She'll ruin you." Malik turned, his arm encircling Imani, pulling her close. His voice softened, but his words carried to every ear. "Yes, I know her past. I know her sacrifice, and I know her heart. That woman gave up everything to save my life. She is pure, she is loyal, she is mine. No amount of lies will ever change that." Tears streamed down Imani's cheeks. For the first time, her secret was not her prison. It was her strength. Malik had claimed her story, turned her shame into honor before the world. Veronica's face twisted with rage, but Angela Harrington rose from her seat, her voice commanding the room. "Veronica Carter, your charade ends here." She held up a folder thick with documents. "You've not only schemed against this marriage, you've been stealing funds through fraudulent charities in your daughter's name. The evidence is here, and by tonight, the world will know." Gasps swept the hall as Veronica's face drained of color. "You'll regret this, Angela," Veronica hissed, grabbing Janelle's hand. "Come, we're leaving." But Janelle ripped her hand away. Her voice cracked as she shouted, "You've ruined me, Mother! Everyone is laughing at me." She fled down the aisle in tears, her gown dragging behind her, leaving Veronica standing alone, disgraced before hundreds. The officiant cleared his throat nervously. "Shall we proceed?" Malik took Imani's trembling hands, his eyes never leaving hers. "Yes," he said firmly, "we shall." The vows resumed. Through tears, Imani repeated the words, her voice steady despite the storm around her. Malik's deep, rich tone followed, sealing their promise. When the officiant finally declared, "You may kiss the bride," Malik wasted no time. He cupped her face, pressing his lips to hers with a passion that silenced every whisper, every doubt, every scheme. The applause was thunderous, but all Imani felt was the warmth of his embrace and the truth in his kiss. She was his, he was hers. As the newlyweds walked down the aisle, hand in hand, Angela met Imani's eyes with a proud smile. "The storm is passing, child, but beware, storms have aftershocks." And in the shadows of the hall, Veronica lingered, her eyes burning with venom. Though her schemes had failed, her vow of revenge remained unbroken. The Harrington estate glowed with laughter and music that night, but not everyone celebrated. The ballroom overflowed with guests, raising glasses to the new Mr. and Mrs. Harrington, yet in a quiet corner of the mansion, Veronica Carter sat frozen in disbelief. Her carefully crafted empire, her beauty, her wealth, her schemes, was unraveling before her eyes. Angela Harrington's words still echoed in her mind, cutting deeper than any blade. "Your fraud will be exposed by tonight," and exposed it was. Before the reception had even begun, headlines flashed across every news outlet. Reporters outside the gates screamed questions into their microphones. "Veronica Carter accused of embezzlement. Charity scam linked to Harrington wedding guest. Fraud and scandal rock the Carter family." Inside, Malik and Imani danced to soft jazz, their smiles radiant. For Imani, it was her first time feeling the freedom of joy without fear lurking at the edges. Malik's strong arm wrapped around her waist, his forehead pressed to hers as if shielding her from the entire world. "You're glowing," he murmured. "It feels like the first time I've truly lived," she whispered back, her tears mingling with her laughter. "I never thought I'd be standing here, as your wife." "And yet here you are," he said, kissing her knuckles. "Exactly where you belong." While they swayed together, Veronica stormed toward the exit, Janelle trailing behind like a ghost. The younger woman's mascara streaked her face, her once proud posture broken. She had been humiliated in front of the city's elite, rejected publicly, stripped of the illusion that she could win Malik's love. "Come on, Janelle," Veronica snapped. "We still have power. We still have friends." But Janelle ripped her hand free. "No, Mother, you've destroyed me. Everyone saw me begging at that altar like a fool. Malik hates me, the Harringtons despise me, and the whole city is laughing. I can't even show my face again." Veronica's voice rose, sharp as glass. "You're my daughter. You'll rise again." Janelle's sob shook her entire body. Number, you only ever cared about what I could get for you. You never cared about me." With that, she fled through the side doors, leaving Veronica alone. For the first time in decades, Veronica felt a chill she couldn't shake, the chill of abandonment. Angela Harrington approached, her silver-streaked locks gleaming under the chandeliers. She carried an envelope in her hand, one she had kept close all evening. "It's over, Veronica," Angela said calmly, handing the envelope to the waiting investigators who had entered discreetly. "You've stolen millions from charities meant to help children. You've laundered money through shell accounts. Your days of luxury are finished." "You witch!" Veronica spat, her face twisting. "You always envied me. My beauty, my influence." Angela's laughter was low, dignified. "No, dear, I pitied you. You built your life on vanity and greed, and now it's crumbling." Security escorted Veronica out as gasps rippled through the crowd. Guests turned their heads, whispers fluttering like wings. Veronica Carter, once the queen of her social circle, was dragged away disgraced, her jewels flashing under harsh lights one final time. Imani, though overwhelmed, could not help but feel the weight of justice settling. Veronica had tormented her for years, belittled her at every turn, tried to destroy her happiness. Now, for the first time, Imani felt that chapter closing. Later that night, she and Malik escaped to the balcony overlooking the estate gardens. The air was cool, the stars stretching endless above them. Malik wrapped his jacket over her bare shoulders, his eyes drinking her in with tenderness. "Do you know how proud I am of you?" he asked softly. Imani shook her head, smiling faintly. "It was you who stood for me, Malik. You who made me feel worthy when the whole world wanted me to believe I wasn't." "No," he countered firmly. "It was you who endured, you who showed strength when anyone else would have broken. You are the bravest woman I've ever known, Imani Carter Harrington." He lingered on her new name, savoring it. She blushed, leaning into him. "I like the sound of that." Their lips met under the starlight, the kiss deep and certain. For once there was no fear of interruption, no threat looming. Just love, raw, unshakable, eternal. The next morning, the aftermath of Veronica's downfall shook the city. News anchors replayed footage of her being escorted away, while analysts discussed the collapse of her fraudulent charities. Banks froze her accounts. Properties were seized. By noon, she had lost her house, her cars, and every shred of her reputation. Janelle vanished from the spotlight entirely, her social media deleted, her friends abandoning her one by one. Rumors spread that she had fled the city, too humiliated to remain. Meanwhile, the Harrington name rose even higher. Malik's decision to marry Imani, despite every scandal and scheme, became a symbol of loyalty and love. Newspapers splashed their wedding photo across the front page. Heir marries woman who saved his life. Editorials praised Imani's resilience, painting her as a heroine who had endured cruelty but emerged victorious. Imani, still adjusting to the sudden glare of attention, stayed close to Malik. But unlike the shame she once felt, this spotlight felt different. It no longer burned her. Instead, it illuminated her truth. She had been chosen, cherished, defended. Angela, over tea with Imani one afternoon, smiled knowingly. "You see, child, the world admires authenticity. All the wigs, jewels, and lies Veronica clung to could never give her what you have, a heart that shines." Imani blushed, setting her cup down. "Sometimes I wonder why Malik chose me when he could have had anyone." Angela reached across the table, her eyes warm. "Because you saw him when no one else did. Not the billionaire, not the heir, not the powerful man, but the human, broken and in need. That kind of love is rare. It's what will carry you both through the storms still to come. That night, Malik surprised Imani with a private ceremony in the garden, just the two of them. No guests, no cameras, no spectacle. Only them under twinkling lights strung through the trees. He held her hands and whispered, "The world saw us marry yesterday, but tonight I want this to be just ours. No schemes, no scandals, just vows spoken heart to heart." Her tears fell freely as she nodded. "Yes, Malik, always." They exchanged vows again, this time in whispers, their promises carried by the breeze. When he slipped the ring onto her finger once more, it wasn't just a symbol of wealth or status. It was the seal of a love that had survived trials, secrets, and sabotage. For the first time, Imani truly believed she was free. But freedom, she knew, was never permanent. Far away, in a dingy motel on the edge of the city, Veronica stared at her reflection in a cracked mirror. Her jewels were gone, her designer gown replaced with thrifted clothes. Her once flawless skin showed lines of rage and exhaustion. "This isn't the end," she hissed at her reflection. "Imani Carter may think she's won, but I'll make her regret crossing me. I'll rise again, stronger, sharper, and when I do, I'll take everything from her." Her bitter laugh filled the empty room, promising storms yet to come. But for Imani and Malik, beneath the glow of their victory, life felt for once like it was just beginning. The city had not stopped talking about the Harrington wedding. For weeks, every magazine cover, television headline, and social feed carried the same images. Imani Carter in her breathtaking ivory gown, Malik Harrington at her side, and the kiss that sealed a love story that defied every obstacle. But while the world celebrated, Imani's own heart was still learning how to accept peace. She had lived so long in the shadows of cruelty, sacrifice, and secrecy that joy felt like an unfamiliar garment, beautiful yet fragile, as if it might tear at any moment. She stood on the balcony of Malik's penthouse, looking out over the glittering skyline. Night spread across the city, but the lights made it shimmer like a sea of diamonds. Malik came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. His warmth steadied her trembling thoughts. "You're quiet tonight," he murmured, kissing the curve of her neck. "I was thinking," she admitted softly. "It still feels unreal, Malik. A few months ago, I was serving soup in a church basement, wondering how I'd pay for school. Now," she laughed faintly, shaking her head. "Now I'm married to the man every woman dreams of. Sometimes I'm scared I'll wake up and it'll all be gone." Malik turned her gently to face him, his deep brown eyes burning with sincerity. "It won't disappear, Imani. Not as long as I'm breathing. Everything I have is yours. My wealth, my name, my heart. You gave me life when I was dying in an alley. You gave me love when I didn't believe I deserved it. Now it's my turn to give you peace." Her eyes misted as she pressed her forehead to his. "Then promise me one thing. Promise me we'll never let the past haunt us again." "I promise," he said firmly, sealing it with a kiss that was tender yet unyielding. The promise felt real, but the past had ways of clawing back. Across the city, Tyrone Carter sat in a prison cell, his dreadlocks unkempt, his once proud body now slouched in defeat. His eyes, however, still burned with obsession. On the wall of his cell, scratched into the concrete, was a single word: Imani. He muttered her name like a prayer, like a curse, like an oath. "She should have been mine. If I can't have her, nobody should." The guards ignored his ramblings, but in Tyrone's mind, vengeance simmered. He would not fade quietly into the shadows. And in an even darker corner of the city, Veronica Carter wandered the streets she once looked down upon. Her fine clothes were gone, her jewelry pawned, her skin gaunt and weary. She had spent her last dollars on cheap motels until even those doors closed against her. Now she slept beneath bridges, begging for scraps from strangers. Each rejection felt like acid. The humiliation of it gnawed at her pride, until bitterness was all that remained. One evening, as she clutched a tattered coat tighter around her shoulders, she saw her reflection in a store window. For the first time, she noticed what she had become. No longer the glamorous queen of society, but the very thing she once mocked, homeless, forgotten, invisible. Her lips twisted into a bitter laugh. "Imani Carter," she whispered into the glass, "you've stolen everything from me. But mark my words, this isn't the end." Back at the Harrington estate, Angela sat with Imani in the library, the firelight casting a soft glow around them. Shelves of books towered over their heads, and the air smelled faintly of cedar and parchment. Angela's voice was calm, but her words carried weight. "Child, do you know what today marks?" Imani shook her head. "The end of your bondage," Angela said. "For years you lived under Veronica's cruelty, Janelle's spite, Tyrone's malice. But today you are free. You've won, not just Malik's love, but your dignity." Imani's tears fell silently. "Sometimes I wonder if I truly deserved this victory. After all, I gave up the one thing I had left, my virginity, just to save Malik's life. That shame still lingers in me, Angela. What if people never let me forget?" Angela reached across, taking her hands firmly. "Listen to me, Imani. The world is cruel, yes, but your sacrifice was not sin. It was love. You chose compassion over selfishness. That is the mark of greatness, not disgrace. And remember this, goodness, even when unseen, never goes unrewarded." Those words sank deep into Imani's heart, like balm over old wounds. She realized then that her story was not one of shame, but of courage. In the weeks that followed, Malik and Imani settled into their new life together. She resumed her nursing studies, now fully paid for by Malik, but she insisted on continuing her work at the soup kitchen. "I'll never forget where I came from," she told him one morning as they handed out meals side by side. "These people need hope just as much as they need food. If I can give them even a fraction of what was given to me, then I'll have lived well." Malik kissed her temple proudly. "And that's why I love you." Together, they became more than just husband and wife. They became a symbol. The city looked to them as proof that love could rise from ashes, that kindness could endure through trials, that justice could fall upon the wicked while mercy lifted the righteous. But beneath the surface, shadows lingered. Tyrone's obsession in prison festered. Veronica's bitterness grew in the streets. Janelle's disappearance remained a mystery. Whispers claimed she had run to Europe. Others that she lived in shame under a new name. Imani knew their story was far from over, but for now she chose joy. On a quiet evening, as the sun dipped low over the horizon, she and Malik renewed their vows privately once more. No audience, no cameras, no grand spectacle. Just two souls, bound by love, promising to endure whatever storms may come. Malik held her close, his voice low but unwavering. "No matter who rises against us, no matter what shadows return, I will stand with you. Always." Imani smiled through her tears, her voice steady as she replied, "And I will love you, through every battle and every victory. Always." They sealed their promise with a kiss, the city lights flickering around them, like stars bowing in reverence. And so, season 1 of their story closed, not with a fairy tale ending, but with a truth far deeper, that love built on sacrifice is unshakable, that justice always finds the wicked, that dignity, though bruised, can be restored, and that goodness, even when hidden in the shadows, will always be rewarded in the light. Here comes the end of the story, If I was able to make your day comment, Mr. Hope you made my day.